And welcome to another episode of Giving a Hoot.
We did.
And yeah, okay, we're done. We did. I'm Luke. That's Ryan. Hi.
Hey,
We've had a busy week.
we did.
2 games since the last time there was a podcast. Greenville and Madison, both away. I went to one of those games. It was a hot day. But since last week, or since the last pod, Ryan Jiba was named to Team of the Week, which I think that was his first time Team of the Week.
Maybe second. But
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised second, but
yeah.
No, well deserved. As we'll get to talking, he's playing lights out every game.
Yeah, if they gave an award for like most improved, he's a guy that would easily be in that running from game one on.
I think he's a little too old to be the young player of the year. I think he's 22. And that's
Is it 21 or is it 22? I thought 23 was the man. As I lean over and look at my computer.
Yeah. I mean, either way, he should get that for like a newcomer of the year award, but as this is a league of mostly newcomers.
Yeah, exactly. We even had a question about that we can get to later, but about the turnover and what that's going to look like, and I think that's exactly why that award's going to be so hard every year for them to pick, though.
Yeah, to keep this from turning into Smurfs Dances with Wolves, let's just kind of like quickly summarize, quick preview. We've got 3 games total to summarize. So other news is this should be dropping Thursday morning, and I believe voting will still be open. Rashid is up for save of the week again for brilliant save against Greenville in the 10th minute because Connor got a little pushy. And amazing save. So if you get it
3 in a row?
No, I don't think he had one the previous week.
Okay.
But he's had like 3 or 4 so far this season. But get out there, vote, do the thing. And Saturday against Chattanooga is singles night. Also, they're doing a bus from Infusion.
Oh, yeah, that's what they were. Okay. I didn't read that tweet, so that's what they were promoting. Got it.
Yeah. So bus from Infusion with a good ticket package. I think that's food, drink, bus, ticket.
And bus.
Yeah. Bus, drink. All right. And it sounds like a solid time.
Yeah, ticket, ride, food, and drink included from Infusion.
Yeah, not a bad deal.
Huh?
The singles night, I believe that's through Midwest Singles or something.
Not being a single person, I have no idea.
Yeah, I haven't been a single person for a decade.
Yeah, 13 years for me, so yeah.
But that is a $25 ticket. It includes your speed dating, etc., and a drink, and a game or ticket to the game. So honestly, that if you have not yet found a significant other and are looking to, that's a good deal. Considering a stadium beer is about half that cost.
Yeah, very true. I was gonna look at the weather. If you find your significant other this weekend at a soccer match when it's going to be really hot, that's a keeper for sure. 89 is not horrible, but
no,
it's Nebraska, so the humidity is going to be like 72%.
Yeah, but it's also Nebraska, so you'll have 60-mile-an-hour winds to cool you down.
Yeah, so put your best foot forward.
Hey, do it. Not really news, but something I noticed as I have flown through a few airports in the past week. Stadium beers are more expensive than airport beers. Uh, I mean, that's not something I ever thought I'd have to say, but
Yeah, that's um on here, or I know I said it at the last home game, but the beers at the Brewers Stadium were $1 more or $1 less, slightly smaller. And I was at a Major League Baseball stadium. I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, they're like Major League Baseball prices.
Speaking of beers, we played a game in Greenville.
Were many beers consumed?
There were some. Some beers were consumed. Charity was benefited. Good result.
Have you detoxed yet? That's the real question.
We'll see. We'll see.
That was combined, though, right?
Yes, the 39 was combined.
Approximately 20 beers apiece.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Uh, the game itself was a draw. It was two very good teams. It was immovable object, unstoppable force, immovable object,
Mm-hmm.
and lots of diving on both. Like,
Common theme.
yeah, I think Camille's been calling this one out, and I'm inclined to agree. But there has been a lot of acting so far this season on all sides, and we have inexperienced enough refs that it's being bought a lot more, and so it's just continuing this, and the games aren't flowing.
No,
You know,
not at all.
you have a lot of fouls being called for things which may or may not be fouls, but it's yeah. I'd like to see just 10 minutes of play where there's not a foul called in a game. Um, and
Well, at least if the fouls are the ones that they're calling aren't soft. Like, I think that's my big thing is there's a lot of things that you see all over soccer that they will never call, or they call every once in a while. They get called all the time in USL, and it's a lot of 50-50 stuff that shouldn't ever be called. That they get, and it's both sides. Like, we get, the other teams get fouls that we make that are that way, but we also get fouled that are really soft fouls that I'm like, I don't know if they should have called that or not. I'll take it because I'm a fan, but
yeah, no, I think just generally the inexperience of the refs due to the fact we have three third divisions going right now. A lot of refs we're seeing our games being their first or second ever professional center reffing gigs. Like, just a lot of things that are happening throughout the league, players and refs, that I don't think you'd see if there was more consistency in the reffing.
yeah.
It was definitely apparent in the Greenville game, um, where there was a lot of, yes, there was contact, but you didn't need a somersault.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. There is it detracts from the game, and
Well, I
there
I
is a
think we're
lot.
seeing. Oh, good.
Well, there is a lot of physicality, and we definitely have a couple players who don't go down that road, and
Right.
sometimes probably should take the fall when they're being muscled.
No, I agree. Yeah. I also think we have some guys on our team, and there's a lot of guys on other teams that are trying to play to the way the games are being called. And unfortunately, when you don't have control and ticky tack fouls are getting called, that generally leads to guys doing things they normally wouldn't do, like going down really easy. Um, you know, I know we're gonna get to the Madison match, but it was it Dion in the box at the end of the match last night. it he was leaning, he was already kind of falling. He gets touched a little bit, he goes down trying to draw a penalty really late in the match. You're not going to get those all the time, but because the ref was calling that way,
Yeah.
he kind of felt aggrieved that it didn't get called because things like that had already been called throughout the match.
Well, and we'll get to that, but highlights from the Greenville game.
So I had to go back and kind of watch highlights and watch it back. I was in Sioux City and helping my father-in-law with Ragbri stuff, so I didn't get to see it all in the same chunk. I think the biggest takeaway was, as much as we feel like this team seems to be not flowing or not playing the way that we're used to, the fact that we can go to Greenville and hang with them, doing for a 0-0 draw. It never looked like either that Greenville was dominating the game or we were. Looked like it was a pretty even game. I felt really good coming out of that match. Like, okay, we just went to the top team into their house. We took a point. They came in our house and took 3 points, but at least we were able to go on the road. But we got to turn. No, it doesn't matter. Like, we got to turn these draws. That game there was 50% of our matches played at that point have resulted in draws. We of our league games have resulted in draws. That's a lot of lost points. That's 14 lost points right there that we haven't turned into something else because we can't score, we can't do whatever. And I think that's the more frustrating part. Not that the guys didn't play well or didn't play their asses off. It's just it's not resulting in the results we want. Now, if we can do that at home through the season and the rest of the season and turn potential draws into wins, it's only going to shoot us up the table. But I think there's a lot of positives that come out of the game. We looked fluid.
No, I thought there were a lot of positives, but there weren't a whole lot of highlights.
Right.
I thought there were definitely some of our guys were playing extremely well. Our defense looked great. Ryan had an outstanding match. Isaac had a very good match. No, just Kamal had a lot of positive moments out there. But again, just we weren't able to convert anything. Funny you mentioned that Saturday we'd had played. That was our 14th game.
Yep.
Correct. And last night against Madison was our 15th. Was messaging with a former player, asking if they're available on loan, and of course was shot down. But it pointed out to them that we've had 8 draws this season. 5 of them have been 0-0. Like that, 5-0 speaks loads to our defense.
Oh,
that's
for sure.
5 shutouts, and I believe all but one of those has been a road game.
I mean, based on how our season has gone with our schedule, then without having it up in front of me, that has to be accurate.
But the fact we've been able to pull that many 0-0 draws speaks loads to the defense on our side. Mm-hmm. I don't think it speaks necessarily as well to the defense on the other side, as we've just had difficulty converting. And as Jay has always said, the hardest thing in soccer is scoring goals.
Yep.
It's really not something I see our guys trying not to do. Like they are always hungry for the goals. They're always trying everything they can to get them. There's just something missing where they're not converting it. And I liked what we saw with how we were playing without JP on the field there in Greenville because he had his red card. I like seeing Kamal out there. The senior with younger works well.
So we've of our 5 draws, 3 have been on the road, 2 at home.
Okay.
Hailstorm and Charlotte were the 2 0-0s at home.
Okay.
And then on the road, it was Tormenta and then the last 2 matches.
Yep.
So,
Which, again, great for us not having goals scored against us. That's amazing. Got to score some goals. To that point, Luis Gil, that's also news since last week. He's already played in 2 matches, so that's why it didn't really come up there. But made his debut.
So point of clarification, because I was listening to the Madison broadcast.
Yeah.
I've always pronounced it the way you did of Gil, and he kept calling him Gil. So
yeah, sorry. I was going by the pronunciation chart that is given to every broadcaster in the league. But Luis Gil officially signed or was announced on Friday, and then came up for, is that 15 minutes? End of the game's a little fuzzy for me, but
yeah, it was probably 15, 20 minutes ish he got on.
But came on and was an immediate impact. He just has a way around it. It was working very well with the chemistry of the guys on there, as though he'd been playing with them all season.
Yeah.
I really liked what I saw there. And again, he potentially been signed with it 7 days prior. Granted, he's been, I mean, not playing so much because he was with Valley United and they've ceased operations for the season.
In like early June, wasn't it?
Yeah. But came on, immediate impact. Great work there, working well with the guys. Got a yellow card. So he'll fit right in.
I mean, the exciting part about bringing a guy like this on is you and I were texting when the announcement happened, and we were both like, wow, a player we've actually heard of before. Now, whenever we hear of the guys that get signed, we obviously do our research and we try to do our best to figure out who they are. But Luis was one of those guys that as soon as his name popped up, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the Real Salt Lake guy. And then, I looked it up and I was like, oh, yeah, that's the Real Salt Lake guy. Like, obviously, I followed Sporting Kansas City for a long time. They've played Real a lot. And I saw him a lot. And so I was excited just because I know that he's bringing that MLS veteran status.
Are you going to ask Ackerman questions?
Yeah, I should. Damn. like, is that real hair or? It was as big of an asshole off the field as he was on.
Does he wantonly choose his own hair, or is that somebody is like blackmailing him? No, but yeah, it really is just when you've got a guy like Connor who's experienced, has played at all levels. You've got Dion who's played at top levels, Kamal who's played top levels. Like that's a very solid start. Then you bring on a guy like Luis Gil, who's played MLS, just all over Liga MX, and then because he wanted a new challenge, he went and played half a season in the Czech Republic's top flight. Okay,
he's like, why not?
Yeah.
Thing too with guys like that, I think it's why Kamal kind of was able to run right into the team as soon as he was available. I think it's why Isaac's been able to once he was available. Is when you're a vet and you've played on that many teams and you have that much game time. And Real Salt Lake didn't play a system that was too dissimilar to what Jay plays now, but it's all instinct, and especially when you're an offensive midfielder like he is, going out there and doing that and creating chances, that's second nature to him by this point. And so as he grows into the system, he's just going to get better and better, but he already brings that veteran status with him. The thing I'm happy he's here. The thing I was most concerned about with his signing is what we just talked about. We have 5 0-0 draws. We have, I don't know how, we didn't score against Greenville at home. So we have a couple other times where we haven't scored. And in MLS, he scored 11 goals in like 100 and whatever, 60 some appearances. So you're really bringing him on as another midfield creator, but we still don't have a out and out like goal scorer who's going to go out there and get a goal or two, um, you know, not week in and week out, but pretty regularly, you know.
Yeah.
Hence why you reached out to a former player to ask them if they're available on loan.
Well, I do think he's going to come on as a creator. I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. At Kyle Reisman, who unfortunately has been feeling under the weather this week, so has not been able to do a data dive, but threw out just stats because he can't shut it off. That Connor against Greenville, was it? Or was it Madison?
It was Madison.
Okay. That no, it must have been Greenville because it was Dalton's 50th start for Union Omaha was against Madison.
But he said yesterday at 11 o'clock, this past game was Connor's 50th out of 50 appearances for the team in all competitions. So that includes our run in the U.S. Open Cup, obviously. So that would have been yesterday. So yesterday was Tuesday. And that was after the Madison match was over. So Connor's substitution appearance was his 50th out of 50 times he could have ever. So essentially, Connor's played in every game possible since he's joined the club. Yeah, Dalton is at, what did you say for Dalton? Dalton played, it was his 50th league game for the club, 55 total in all competitions for the club, and grand total in the league, if you include his first year, 72nd, 72 games total in the league. Yeah, I mean the one thing that Dalton had probably going against him a little bit for accumulating appearances was some of the rotations. I mean, it was really probably mid last season, maybe early last season when he became like it was him and a wall, and these are our center backs, and he got game in, game out. Where Jay knew Connor. We knew Connor coming in. He was a veteran in a lot of ways, and there was no way he wasn't going to see the field. Kind of like how Luis has already seen the field twice in 2 games for us, because that's why you bring a guy like that in.
Oh yeah, for sure on that. And I mean, Connor has been such a good creator, such a good leader on the field, and getting the armband has just been massive. But speaking of armbands, and speaking of players getting their 50th league appearance, Dalton Knutson was wearing the armband in Madison.
Yeah, Tim Howerton also asked us on Twitter, so we can just throw his question in here since he just asked us to rate Dalton as the captain.
I'm going to give him an 8.
An 8 out of
12.
Oh, okay, perfect. Mine only goes up to 11.
Yeah. The biggest attractor is sometime in the second half. I think it was JP's yellow, and everybody's in the ref's face, and he's not there. And maybe he went over to the 4th official to talk it through, but that was one where there could have been more cards flying, and I would have liked to have seen him in there calming things down a bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as
for us, was that his first time as captain?
I think he's assumed the armband when Connor subbed off, but I think that was his first start with the armband.
Okay.
But as far as how he played, that was he had an amazing game in Madison. Madison was the opposite, I think, of Greenville. There were a lot of highlights with no goals.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that my biggest frustration from both games is just the lack of chances that were like legitimate chances. And I know in the Madison match, it went on both sides because it was like our first shot on goal, which was the first shot on goal in the game, was in like what, the 80th minute or something.
Well, there
But
were
it's
two shots on goal the entire game, one from either team.
right. And yeah, I think we have a lot of really good creative guys. There's just a lot of stuff. A lot of guys aren't able to do things like put it on frame or just get like we're not testing anybody. And the other thing that frustrated me a little bit about Madison was we started resorting back to crosses to our 5'10", 5'11" guys in the middle. And Madison has some tall center backs, and that keeper is pretty tall. And that guy had an easy day at the office.
I was just about to bring that up because this was another question we received. Uh, why have our like airball play been less accurate? Uh,
Yeah,
so
that was from Brian.
trying to get under a tripod.
Oh, yeah, that was from Brian.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think our air passes have been less accurate. I think we have guys who are not as necessarily as good in the air.
Yeah, I agree.
Like JP is fantastic in the air. Noe's in the air, but Noe and JP are still not 6'4" defender.
Right.
Like that we just don't have that level well that height in
Yeah,
there.
the literal level.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
Uh
yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. It's I was it even Joe from Greenville was asking us goals, why don't you like to score them? And it's like I think all of this is kind of they're all symptoms of the same problem. You know, we had Greg wasn't the tallest guy. I mean, he's taller than these other, but Greg was good in the air. He could get up, he could get his head on a ball. Evan could get up and get his head on a ball. And so we had guys that were multiple guys that were able to do that. So if you serve the ball up, I remember last year there's a one header where or one goal where Evan faked a header and it psyched everybody out on the defense so bad because they knew he was good in the air that the ball fell to Greg at his feet and he was able to put it on into the goal like it was nothing because Evan's fake headers faked everybody out. We don't have anybody that could do that. They don't draw that type of attention right now.
like Noe is starting to do that with his head, but again, like same thing can't be said with Hugo and
Right.
Noe's being put back more at like a 10.
Attacking mid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't
that's what you and I were texting about it back and forth last night, and that's the role it appears he's playing.
I don't like it.
I don't. Yeah, he doesn't look comfortable. He looks like he kind of gets lost in the midfield because. Not saying no, he's not a physical player, but I don't think he has the same level of physicality you need to play the midfield in League One.
Yeah.
Um, when you're a striker and you're pressing up top a lot, like Jay likes us to do, you don't get into the mix as much in the midfield, even if you do come back to help out, like JP and Connor like to do. And I don't know if Jay's just trying different things to just try and get more creators in the field and move the ball around. Um, I think it's a great position to put somebody like Luis into. You
Yeah.
know, if Luis is there at attacking mid, then yeah, I think that a lot of guys. We've talked about this a lot. This is probably the most talented player-to-player team we've had. We have a bench that we feel like they could throw anybody on and they're going to impact the game. We have a starting 11 that we feel really confident in, but we don't have a guy that it's like, hey, when the game's on the line, there's a couple minutes left, get the ball to this guy, he's going to put the ball in the back of the net. We need that guy, and that's I think the Luis signing was awesome. I think I was just hoping that we would like sign a striker or sign somebody else so we can put up there, but maybe Jay trusts the guys. I don't know.
Yeah. Uh I think last night the Madison game was probably the lineup I've liked the most.
Yeah.
I thought it played very well. I would have done a couple subs out there to just make it flow a little bit better throughout the entirety of the game. I would have liked to have seen Dion from the start instead of Hugo. Um, Hugo
For sure.
Hugo is a great player. Um, he has the opposite of the problem we were talking about earlier. He gets
Yeah.
shoved back and he stays up in
Yeah.
a lot of positions inside the 18. And it's like,
Yeah. Totally agree.
I think he could have drawn 2 penalties last night alone if he'd just taken the fall. And Noe has a little bit of that, but I also think Noe's the reason Noe's staying up is he's dangerous in the air.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
if something's coming in, but or gets into the right spot. But when Dion came on last night, it looked so good. Like him out there with everybody, it just felt right.
Mhm.
Shivani had a hell of a game.
Yeah. -1 errant shot that he hit Mars with.
He can't shoot like,
No.
but everything other than shooting. And there was one point where he stuttered on the ball and ended up
Mhm.
passing it off, and that was before he'd actually taken a shot. I totally understand why he did that. Uh,
Well, and then we give Connor a hard time about him trying to shoot his 25-yard bangers, and then he's in the box and has at least a chance to kick the ball, and tries to pass it off, and I'm like, Connor, the one time you don't just put your laces through the ball, because I would not want to get hit by a ball Connor kicks ever.
no,
I think I think he would have had a decent chance of at least getting a rebound off of that if he would have at least tried to put it on frame. Um, and I think that's what we're getting at. Like, okay, so I just pulled up the live table. Um, we are tied for the least amount of goals scored in the league this season with Tucson, who's in dead last right now. Um, and in last place by 6 points, mind you. So they're not. It's not like they're close. Um, the next closest with the least amount of goals is 21. So we have 16 goals for. North Carolina has 21 for. So they still already have a 5 goal difference on us right there. And they're in second to last place. But on the flip side, games in hand on most teams. Um, on the flip side, we've given up the least amount of goals by a mile by only giving up 12.
yeah,
So it's one of those things. It's like we keep talking about it being like 2020. And this is why it feels like 2020. The defense is keeping this team in games right now, and if the offense comes along, we're in sixth place right now with the only team that's played 15 games, the minimum amount of games, and we have a +4 goal difference, but we've only given up 12 goals in 15 games. We're playing lights out on defense, and Rashid is playing lights out in goal.
no, this has by far been Rashid's best season, both season and Open Cup.
Mm-hmm.
He has shown he is better than this team, but he's still playing just absolutely, absolutely amazing for this team. He
Yeah.
if we said it last year, if he's with the team this year, we're going to be surprised. This year, if he is not either playing domestically in the U.S. somewhere else at a higher level or overseas at a higher level, Rashid, you need a better agent.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, we talk about it a lot. I think the one thing that hurts Rashid in the U.S. is his status. If if Rashid Nuhu was an American citizen or had his green card or was in any other status that he wasn't considered an international player, I don't know if we would have had him this year.
yeah, Uh, all right. Other highlights from the Madison game. Um, we had a lot of good crosses in, but just again, not the height to close it. Our range shots were inaccurate. Um, Shivani's trying to start Jamaica's astronaut program.
Dude, he skied that ball.
That was awful. Like he had one hell of a game, but Shivani, just pass the ball, just pass it.
It was bad enough that at halftime, Tyler Nelson was like, I don't know, Shivani hasn't had that great of a game. And it's like, no, that shot was so bad, you are misinterpreting the rest of how he's playing right now. Because he had a hell of a game outside of that one shot that he skied.
Yeah, I happy to see him get some playing time, and I'm happy to see him excelling with the playing time he did get.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, let's talk about our third match.
Yeah, this one's actually a win.
Which was shot by a potato. The only camera we had was clearly a potato.
Damn, you're really going after Peter on this one.
Oh, I'm just saying, like
he went full Gary Green, streamed this thing from his phone, and we're giving him crap about it.
Gary's was in 2020. The technology has progressed in the past 2 years, and it's like, yeah, it's Gary Green money, but it's still Peter potato.
And to be fair, it was Gary's phone, but it wasn't Gary actually filming it.
It was, yeah, that was not Gary filming it. So the Union Omaha Unified Special Olympics team was playing Madison Unified Special Olympics team in two 20-minute halves immediately following the game. On a Tuesday night, and it looks like the first team stuck around to cheer them on. And the
It
flock
sounded like maybe they were coaching. I think Touche was actually like helping kind of coach on the field a little bit. So
I mean, Touche looked like he was coaching. Generally, like he looks like he's trying to take some leadership in the back during the games, but
yeah,
there that was a great thing that's happening to build the sense of community, build the ones means all slogan
absolutely.
to actually mean one means all. And those folks came out like that one heck of a game and a 25-yard banger.
Yeah.
Like I wish I'd gotten like a roster and like numbers on this, but Yoskar was not giving us the best color commentating in the second half.
Number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah.
But
that's all I know. No name. I just know it's number 4.
Yeah.
But good on you.
25 yards. I mean, seriously, sign him. Like
JP can't do that, so
yeah. I mean, JP's tried at least in every one of the past 3 games, and well, 3 games he's been able to play and missed miserably.
Yeah, I mean, good on the people that stuck around. They played it after that match. It sounds like ours on the 31st is also after the match.
I think it's 4.
Oh, I thought they said it was after this. I think I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
Either way, sticking around for it, or if it's the match coming in early, it's good to cheer them on. I mean, it's a great concept that they did with Forward Madison. The big deal that both teams made it and should have made it like they did of doing signings and doing announcements at games of their team and doing all that stuff has been awesome. I think it's just been handled really, really well by both clubs. And I'm one of the people that has no hesitation to give Forward Madison crap about any number of things, but the one thing about their fans is they say a lot of things when it comes to social issues and being all inclusive and doing that. And I think that their fans showed that by sticking around in watching that match. I don't expect everybody on a Tuesday night, especially people with kids, to stick around after a game that started at 7 o'clock and it's done at 9 to stick around for another 40 minutes and watch something. But the fact that people did, it just says a lot about the people of Madison.
No, definitely. And I mean, it from the sounds of it, it was good soccer. So that's a huge plus. There's always the risk when you do it of you're pulling together a second team that's not going to be fun to watch, but it sounds like there was absolutely just amazing soccer happening out there, and hey, they brought back points.
So JD did ask, what's the date and time for the next unified match? And they responded 8:31 following our match against Madison.
Okay.
So I would encourage our fans to do the same thing. Let's stick around, watch this unified match. Let's cheer them on. I mean, they're Owls. They signed contracts. They're Owls.
Yep.
Cheer them on.
No, and they score goals.
Yeah. If you want to see goals scored, that might be our best chance.
Well, absolutely amazing work by Unified team. Really excited for that 8:31 match where we'll be bringing out as much support as possible.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, if we can get the full names and roster, so that way we can, we can properly attribute the bangers and the amazing games.
Peter, you occasionally listen to this.
Yeah.
Please take that.
I mean, just some suggestions.
Do you want to do the rest of our Twitter?
Yeah. See which ones we didn't answer.
So, and because I think it's a bigger conversation, but Tim had a couple other questions. One, we kind of answered, but we can elaborate a little more. Do we expect playing at home is going to fix any of the offensive issues? Here's the thing about our offense at home. It's not like it has been stellar either. We've had a 0-0 draw and a 2-0 loss at home. Out of our 5 matches, in 2 games, we haven't scored goals. The only reason I think it can help is because that gives those guys more time on that pitch, which means they have more chances to score. And they get a chance to actually get the feel of the pitch and how it's going to play and stuff. I don't think the problem with scoring is where we're playing, personally.
I think one of the things that Tim's probably thinking is the smaller pitch. Does that help us?
Yeah.
And no, I don't think it does help this team. I think this team actually does better on a larger pitch, which was an interesting thing. When they always get the coaches' comments of like keys to the game. To start for Greenville, it was enjoy the space, which is what Jay wrote.
Yeah.
Like playing the width, playing wide, I think has been better for us. We've done better on the largest fields in the league, not necessarily our own. So,
well, even in the Open Cup.
Yeah.
Chicago, Minnesota. I mean, we didn't look great against Kansas City, but we still moved the ball around. We have a lot of players that when we can spread the field out and let those guys be creative with the ball at their feet, they do a better job.
Yeah.
So I think absolutely we have a team that isn't necessarily catered to our home pitch.
The one advantage we do have at home is Rashid. Rashid can just be putting it up into the box all day. A quick counter, and we have the guys with the speed to execute it.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
Sorry, Tim. Camille was not able to join us tonight. He was really hoping for Camille Referant.
I was too.
I can say because we had a private. The 3 of us had a private chat going during last night's match. It would have been an epic Referant. She is probably the one that's banging the there's a lot of diving going on in this league drum pretty hard the last few weeks. And
if you follow her on Twitter, she's been pretty vocal there.
Well, and on top of it, she's not. I mean, when she talks to us about it, she's not just calling out the other teams either. She's not being biased. She's calling our guys out on stuff too. And I think there's a lot of that stuff that, as a former pro herself, she looks at it and is like, guys, there's some of that stuff that's part of the game naturally, but there's some of that stuff that we're embellishing too much.
Yeah.
Because that is part of the game. You're leaning against another guy, they move, you're a little bit off balance, they teach you to go down. That's okay, that's great, but sometimes we're doing it when it's not even a necessary thing. All right. Had a question, and I have stats pulled up to help us with this one. So his question was, who do you guys think will be your top scorer by the end of the season? Currently, our co-leading top scorers are JP and Noe, both on 4.
If you figure an Open Cup, Noe's leading by 2.
2. Yeah.
So,
and I don't know. I mean, obviously, Gio being a Greenville fan, I don't know if he's just saying league scorer.
Well, I'm just looking at like who's been scoring the goals, and JP and Noe have been our 2 big ones.
Yep.
I could see either one, and again, they're both good in the air.
Yeah, and being the creator he is, if that can push Noe up further, where he can be a striker, I think that Noe ends the season as our top scorer. I also think this might just be a team where we don't have anybody that breaks double digits. We might just have a bunch of guys.
We still have 14 games, and 10 of those are at home. So, I think there's a chance. I'd say, I'm gonna say Noe just closely edges out JP.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I think that Noe is going to have the most chances to score goals. So I think that makes the most sense.
One stipulation: if Ricky comes on and goes full CONCACAF, it's going to be Ricky. But Ricky's only been getting a few minutes here and there. But Ricky going full CONCACAF, that 100% him.
Yeah, we need some. I mean, we're not going to have 2 guys combined for 20 some odd goals or whatever like we did last season or anything like that. But if we can get one guy to 10 and there's a few other guys that are around that 5 to 8 range, that means we're scoring a lot more goals this last half of the season, and I feel good about it. So, okay, so this last question came from Proud Owls, their Twitter handle. Warned people about this before the season started, but it's a good reminder halfway through the season. So their question, after the last 2 years, what are reasonable expectations for a club with the turnover we've had and the additional games we've had to play? What results will be definitively disappointing? So I think for the first half of the question, yes, the Open Cup played some part in this because we had to play a lot of guys and we have a very small roster. But I think the 8 draws in 15 games should not be surprising when you basically have a brand new team that you brought in.
Yeah. No, I think the draws are something that comes from a very new team, of like almost built from scratch team. That didn't have, like, the 2020 season, they at least had 6 months from when they were announced before the first game, and like 4 months living together, like learning each other before the first game. So like there was definite cohesion built that this team didn't get the chance for, and is finally getting to. The Open Cup run took some wind out of our sails, but in the same way, it also gave these guys common ground. Played and beat an MLS team, played and beat 2 MLS teams. Like that. That's definitely building blocks of a great success. What I think we need to do to be successful this year is we need to make the top four. I think that is Omaha fan expectation is going to be top two. I'd say for myself, making the playoffs, and then what we can do in a close competition, we've shown.
Top two or top four guarantees at least one home playoff match too.
Yeah.
So I think, look, season one ended the way it did, and being that last half of that season, even though it was a shorter season, that definitely catapulted us up there. And it really came down to the last day anyway. Last year was what it was. We're not probably going to see a team run the table like we did that again. Even Greenville's not pulling away with, their extra games in hand. They're not pulling away from the field. They're not, they didn't have Omaha come in there and they didn't put 3 on us or anything.
We win the next 3 games, we're level with them on points.
Right, and that's the thing to keep in mind is they still have 3 games on it. They played 3 more games than us.
Yeah.
So we're in 6th place with playing 3 less games than they've played right now. This is, I think, what we should expect every few years from a team like at this level. Is if we're going to stay tier 3, if we're going to stay at this level, every 2 to 3 years you're going to have a massive roster turnover, especially if you're successful. And that's going to result in a lot of new guys coming in. Chances are a lot of those new guys are college kids or first-time pros or new pros. And it's going to take them a season to kind of get it together and figure it out. It's the nature of where we're at. Now, if NISA goes away, if people realize that MLS Next is not the catapult to MLS that they thought it was going to be, like we all know it's not. If USL in general, just within their own structure, goes to Pro Rel, where there's a chance to move up, I think that changes the player pool and what that looks like, and that may change what it looks like down the road. But I wouldn't be surprised if 2 years from now we're talking about a completely different roster than this year and next year. It's just the nature of what it's going to be.
Yeah, I think we definitely going to see more rebuilds going forward than guys sticking around the way Omaha set up until we're second division. But at this point, I think Jay's doing what he can, and he's doing a great job with what he can.
And don't get us wrong. We're not the only team that had to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of the names on that Madison team, because I don't watch forward unless they're playing us. There's a lot of names they were calling out, and I was like, I have never heard of this guy before. Madison's rebuilt with a new coach. Greenville has some players that we recognize, but they've overhauled their roster over the last few seasons too. I mean, it's a natural thing that's going to happen in this league. As far as definitively disappointing results, honestly, I know losing 2-0 to Greenville seems disappointing, but I think the more disappointing one to me was the 0-0 draw to Charlotte. It was at home. We hadn't been home for a little bit again, and we just kind of came out flat, and the game it didn't go our way, and it's one of our 5 0-0 draws. That one, because it's at home, it's more disappointing when it's 0-0 draw.
Yeah. I'm expecting a result this weekend. I think guys are ready for it. Being home for a couple of days beforehand will help. But
yeah, where's Chat at the table now?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the table.
Yeah, this has not been a season for me to be able to keep up on the table every year.
I mean, so we're so far behind in games that like it's not relevant.
And I think that's the big thing, right? It's like it makes it hard to know where we really stand until we are closer evenly game wise. So Chat right now is in 8th place, so they're 2 spots behind us on 21 points. So we have 2 more points than them. but we've played 2 less games than they have. They've scored 27, but they've given up 22. So very similar to ours, our goal difference wise. They've just played 2 more games than we have. Yeah, I mean, I would expect match being the start of a little bit of a run. I would expect, and coming off 2 0-0 draws, I would anticipate our boys wanting to come out with some kind of a win.
Yeah.
And 1-0's fine. Just get a win. That's what we need right now.
All right. What do we have anything else from Twitter?
That was all the Twitter questions we had.
All right. Score prediction?
It's chat, so it's going to be physical.
I missed that. I think sound cut out.
2-1 Omaha.
2-1 Omaha. 3-0 Omaha. Every chance. Every chance.
I would love that. Don't get me wrong. We have 3 games in a row here where we play teams that like to play defensively and physically defensively. And I think they play enough to disrupt things in the way the refs have been. It's going to disrupt it enough that I don't know if we're going to be able to free flow for 3 goals. But
yeah,
I'll be happy to eat that crow next week on a podcast.
All right. One last question. Who gives a hoot? We do.